So Justin, you said that you identify as a libertarian.
Yeah.
Same boat.
I don't know. I've thought about some things, but I don't really like consider myself libertarian. I don't know. I would say I support the Canadian Conservative Party. For the most part, yeah.
So myself, I would usually consider myself kind of leftist socially, and then politically more right wing.
Okay.
Would you consider Donald Trump to be a libertarian?
No. I don't think so. Like,
no,
it depends,
so.
because like as a person in SFL, I see a broad range of what libertarian is, from left to right. And there's libertarians in the program that don't believe in borders, and there's libertarians that believe in more closed borders. He does a lot of tariffs things, and that would be something that all libertarians would say you can't do that. Imposing tariffs destroys your economy, and it's preventing a free market. And with his advances against the Second Amendment, kind of, people would continue to say, like, I would agree that he's moving away from at all being a libertarian. I would say people could really call him one. Like, I think he's just like, I don't know, not really a Republican. I don't really know what he would call himself, you know? It's very weird.
He's very opportunistic.
Yeah.
For a lot of his positions,
Flip-flop.
he's not a typical Republican, basically, and he changed a lot of his positions so that he would appeal to Republicans, which I think tricked them a lot. Like, for example, like, he's always been pro-choice, but he decides to campaign as a Republican. Suddenly he says he's pro-life, and of course he doesn't do anything about it. Like, I don't know. There's not really a reason that they should have trusted that he would, do any kind of pro-life measures, or I don't know.
Or
and the same thing, like,
his word, right?
Yeah, or saying that he's a Christian and stuff like that. Like, I mean, we're both Christians. We don't see that he acts in a Christian way at all. And I mean, because he's very greedy. He's cheated on every wife that he's had, and had, like, I don't know. He seems like a quite immoral person. That's obviously aside from his policies and stuff like that. I'm not gonna say like, oh, Trump is Cheeto Hitler or something like that. Like, but yeah, like I don't know really what to say about that guy. Yeah.
I still hold fast he was better than Hillary, but that doesn't say much.
At the time in 2016, I would have said that I would have voted for Hillary, but then I don't know, based on the pro-life issue, I feel like she would have made things a lot worse, but then Trump is not really making things any better either, so I don't know.
That's fair. Going back to the Second Amendment, we touched on it earlier. There's a huge debate going on right now in regards to that, especially down in America, but we've decided to take part of that up in Canada for some reason, even though our gun laws seem to be working pretty well. Do you want to touch on that a bit? What's your views on, I guess, more or less the American side of things,
Sure.
In regards to the mass shootings and the citizens' response to that, people's response?
So I think a lot of it comes down to the media's not being very consistently unbiased. They're showing, figures. Wow, who would have thought that? Like, you have all these people like David Hogg and the woman, the
Emma
Gonzalez, and they all go in the media and they're all screaming, we need gun control, we need gun control. And they're kids, and yes, they went through a traumatic experience, and I wish that never happened. That's terrible. We need to stop that. But we don't stop that by, like, I've watched other videos, and it's all, we need to ban the AR-15 or assault rifles. And you go up to them and say, what is an assault weapon? They look at you and say, I don't know what an assault weapon is. Oh, the AR-15. What is the AR-15? Well, it's a platform used for rifles. 15 million of them or something like that in the States. It's a semi-automatic platform. It shoots .222, .556. Not the biggest round you can shoot, not the most powerful. And it's accounting for, like, all rifles are 3% of all gun murders in the U.S. And assault rifles, I don't even think they're, like, marginal, like probably 0.01% or something like that. So when people say, hey, we need to ban these weapons, it's like, that doesn't make much sense. Really what you should be doing, which is a problem, is we need to enforce the law. Everybody knew about these school shooters. The FBI knew, and what does the FBI do? They just sit there, like, the NSA spies on this. This is a libertarian thing. I hate it when the NSA spies on you for no reason. Like, they collect all of our data, and they say it's for our security, right? We're losing privacy for security. But then they can't catch terrorists when it's not only that they have that information, they've been told 14-something times that this kid is going to go and shoot up a school. And what happens? Nothing, right? It just bewilders my mind that people can say, hey, it's the problem with guns. Because in Canada, I even don't like some of the Canadian gun laws. I don't like mag caps. The magazine caps in Canada are really arbitrary, and you can get in major trouble for having one too many bullets in your magazine. I think that's really stupid. I don't see the reason for that. And we have AR-15s in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody complains about that here unless they hear about what happens in the U.S. and it's all AR-15, AR-15. And the other thing is, like, there was the church shooting in Florida, and who stopped the church shooting?
Oh no, that was in Texas, wasn't it?
Or was it in Texas?
Yeah,
I think
that's-
Texas,
Oh, sorry,
right?
sorry, you're right.
Talking
You're right.
about,
Yeah, it was in Texas. Yeah, church shooting in Texas. How does it stop? An NRA instructor with an AR-15 shoots them dead.
From my perspective, I do think I definitely agree we need to enforce the laws better that we have. I know a lot less about guns and how they work, so I can't speak as much on that. But in terms of the Texas shooting, the guy did stop the shooter after he had already killed like 25 people. So I don't feel like that's a really good example of like, yeah, a good guy with a gun stopped a bad guy with a gun. Like, okay, he already did the deed. He already accomplished his task that he was going to do. So I don't feel that it was super... I mean, yeah, he stopped him, but the police would have got to him.
But if he was concealed carrying or open carrying in the church, he would have killed 3 people or injured 3 people, and then he's dead.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I feel like in Canada, I feel like our gun laws work very well.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, our culture is different, but I totally support the gun laws that we have in Canada because you need a license, you need a waiting period, you need references, you need to take a safety class. So I feel like that makes a lot of sense because it's kind of, for me, it's kind of like cars. For driving a car, like same thing with the right to defend yourself. You have the right to defend yourself. You don't necessarily have the right to use a gun to defend yourself. You have the right to get around. You don't necessarily have the right to use a car to get around. So I kind of feel the same way that like you need to know how to drive a car. You need to take a class, make sure you're safe. And I think that's kind of the same with guns.
So did you guys hear about the Maryland shooter? I believe it was Maryland, where a kid went into a high school and started to open fire and was instantly met
I
with...
did hear that actually.
School resource...
The gym teacher?
Instantly.
Okay.
Instantly. Didn't take a single life and was shot dead instantly.
He injured his target.
Yeah,
he shot her once and then he got shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And media doesn't report on that.
No.
All they want you to know about is...
Or they made one...
I did hear that one. So the media...
Okay,
some media reported on it.
Yeah. Well, they made like one article. I read it and I saw CNN and Washington Post made one article and it wasn't on any front pages. It was just there.
Yeah.
Which I continue to think is kind of stupid. Like, I do agree with that. I think that you need to have a background check. I think you should have a check for your psyche to make sure, you know, you're fit mentally to have a gun. And I think it's great if you do training. I think there needs to be like hands-on training and like a written test, which they normally do in America and they have to do in Canada.
I think that's good because you protect yourself as well. Like, cause
you've
heard stories, right? People accidentally shooting themselves and stuff like that. You know, you don't want to do that. So
there's like the girl who has an Uzi and the instructor puts the Uzi in fully automatic and shoots him, and it's like, well, you're not even practicing good gun etiquette. And waiting periods, I'm indifferent to. Like a week to do the background check and have everything go through, fine for me. But I think once you start pushing it past there, you're kind of, it doesn't do anything. Somebody's just gonna say, okay, I'll wait a month, then I'll go shoot up the school. What does it do? Nothing.
Right. Now, what do you think about what's happening to Western Europe with the mass immigration of the migrants and refugees and whatnot?
So as a person who studied abroad in France in 2016, I felt that there is some sensationalism on the right that's like, it's getting destroyed, and they show these certain clips to show, like, I don't know, only the worst side of it. But for me, I felt safe most of the time while I was traveling around Europe. But that's not to say that there are not a lot of issues and there are not a lot of cultural clashes. And I feel that there's nothing wrong with having limits on immigration. Like, yeah, immigration can be really good. But there's no obligation, there's no moral obligation for your country to let in unlimited amounts of immigrants. And in terms of Canada, like, I don't really care like what someone's background is, where they come from, as long as they don't have like really anti-Canadian beliefs. Like, as long as they don't want to, like, I don't know, if someone comes in here and they say like, I think gay people should be killed, then I'm like, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't come into Canada because, you know, we don't kill gay people in Canada. Right. We think it's okay. Like, I don't know, I'm pretty against that. Or like if they think, I don't know, there was a news story a while back about a Muslim couple, and the thing is, rape is legal in Islam for married couples. There's a verse in the Quran that says, like, your wife is like a field, so go to her whenever, however you will, basically. So there's no real concept of marital rape. And so this man actually had been raping his wife, and he, for some reason, didn't know it was illegal. So the judge let him off. He said, you didn't know, which I find like we can't lower the standard of morality for people that have different standards themselves. They can come in here for sure, and then they need to respect our laws, obey our laws, and respect our culture, which a lot of them do for sure. Right. I was doing my practicum recently at Abbotsford Community Services, and a lot of them were Syrian refugees. And like we learned about Canadian holidays, we learned about like Valentine's Day and Easter and stuff like that. And I got to tell them like, Easter is a secular holiday, it's also a Christian holiday. Like it's I think it's really good, like the culture that we're teaching them, and we're not like assimilating them. We're not saying that you need to get rid of all your culture, but we're integrating them. I think integration is really important. And like you should, if you want to come to a country, you should learn the language. That's what I would do if I would go to any other country. Totally learn the language. If I would go to any country in the world, I would learn the language, I would obey the laws, and respect the culture. I mean, there are some countries I wouldn't go to. I'm not gonna move to Saudi Arabia. Yeah. That'd be a bit much. But yeah, like.
And they respected you, like
definitely.
Because I've heard, I have friends who are German, and they were like they came from Canada, went to Germany, then came back, and my sense is very similar. Like I'm completely for limited immigration. I think you should be able to come into the country when you have reason for it, and I think refugees are fine. Yeah, we need to make sure they're not going to do anything negative to us, and I do agree there's a little bit too much sensationalism, but I don't think that it's all that bad. Like in terms of like how bad the media is portraying it, like that the media is not being truthful. Like you look at Malmo, or
there are no-go zones.
There are no-go zones in districts, in residences. There's no-go zones in even cities. Like I wouldn't tell a friend to go to Malmo. I have friends from all around the world, and my Swedish friends tell me, no, you don't go to Malmo at night because there's so many rapes there. The thing that makes me really angry is the same thing is that, okay, if somebody happens to be black or brown or happens to be like Muslim or not Christian or white or whatever it may be, you're not held up to the same legal standard. There were all the rapes, I believe it was 2015, there was the gigantic surge of migrant rapes of German women at the New Year's
in Cologne, right?
In Cologne, at the New Year's Eve to New Year's Day
they circled
event.
all around them and
and that's the thing is they actually have like words, I can't remember what the word is, but they actually circle around.
They have a name
layers,
for it.
They have three layers of people. So the inner layer is the group rapers. The outer layer near them is like protecting them, and there's an outside layer keeping people away. Wow. So to actually like work to rape women in groups, and I think that's utterly disgusting. And and then what happens is, they're not prosecuted because they're undocumented. They have a different belief. Yeah, they have a different belief, which I think is just completely
bullshit. Or even
bullshit.
if they are prosecuted, I think, like, in many cases, you can just deport them. Like, if they've committed a crime, there's not really any reason to waste the country's resources on that person who's raped somebody or molested somebody. And I think with the double standard that Justin was talking about, we see that in the UK with, like, those... the social workers were afraid to report that there were Muslim rape gangs and Muslim grooming gangs and trafficking gangs that were operating. And we shouldn't be afraid to say if someone is doing something wrong, regardless of what their background is. And with the Me Too movement that we've seen, obviously we want to prevent as much sexual assault and rape as possible. That's bad. Obviously we want to cut down on that, and in a perfect world there wouldn't be any of that.